So if you were to go out for a cup of coffee with me and Cathy, these might be some of the questions you would ask us. And we're about to give you the answers.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast with Jake and Cathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture. Be sure to subscribe.
Welcome to another episode of the Truth Pop Podcast. I'm Cathy.
And I'm Jake.
And we are a married couple giving you a Catholic take on faith and culture, helping you to live out your faith in modern day society.
And we want to do a get to know you episode where, you might be a new listener to the Truth Pop Podcast and you want to put us on the hot seat. You want to ask those burning questions you might have, and you can definitely send in whatever questions you might have for us. You can hit the contact tab on our website at truthpop.net.
All right. Well, let's get right into it.
All right, let's go.
And
hold on, I'm getting comfy on my hot seat here. I'm positioning my cushions.
Well, you don't have to be too on. I mean, grab your cup of coffee too, and yes, relax a little bit.
First of all, this isn't one of the questions I would ask you, but what coffee would you order at a coffee shop that will not be named?
Well, I do really like those fancy coffees like hazelnut and...
You fancy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I just, I've been trying not to put extra sugar in my coffee, so I just drink it with half and half. But if I were to get a high-end cup of coffee, it would be some sort of hazelnut flavoring.
Well, look at you doing all that penance, though. It's hard to say no to those, especially now in the season of fall. I've been noticing all of those like pecan, pumpkin. You're not a pumpkin spice latte.
I remember you were like, you got to try this. You've never tried it. We were, we just started dating were we engaged?
We were engaged of some sort.
About to be engaged or something. And you're like, you got to try this PSL. And I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And I'm like,
there's nothing. Yeah.
I didn't really like it that much, but I do like pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie, but it does not belong in coffee.
I have to say some of the, like I said, there's like this new pecan drink at the coffee shop that will not be named. Definitely recommend it without recommending it. So, all right. So we got our coffee. What's the first question?
All right. What has been the most influential moment of your life?
I need to think about this one. Can you go first? I'm probably going to say that every question.
Well, I mean, I honestly would say our wedding day. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I feel like it was a day where I became a new person. I literally got a new name. I changed my name to your name.
I put that ring on.
It's just like ever since our marriage, I just feel like I've grown so much more with my faith and just in relationship with you, obviously, babe, and just experienced a lot of healing just through issues I didn't even know I really had. So I would say our marriage and, our wedding day was the beginning of that. Yeah,
no, I definitely would agree. The wedding day was outstandingly important.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say my most influential day was a day I don't even remember. It's the day I was baptized.
Well, yes, absolutely. That's the day that we literally become new creations by God. We are adopted as sons or daughters of God, and we become part of his family.
It's the day that I always tell my Protestant friends that I was saved. Whenever they ask me if I'm saved, I'm like, yeah, I was baptized. I'm on my way. I'm being saved.
But we do have to cooperate, even though we are baptized. It's not an automatic saving. We do need to participate in our faith, and we need to choose that relationship with God.
Well, yeah, maybe the second day I was saved was confirmation.
Yeah, and I remember that day I was so distracted. I didn't even really fully understand what was happening. And so even though that day it's so vital, it was so important for me, I didn't even know how important it was at the time. I wish I did.
Yeah, I mean, we're so young. It sometimes takes some time to really let it kick in. I just remember learning about how, you have the milk and then you put the Hershey syrup at the bottom,
yeah,
and then you mix
yeah.
it up. So that's the Holy Spirit doing the inner work
Oh,
on
wow.
confirmation. So that stuck with me.
That's a really good
Yeah.
analogy.
And plus, I always like chocolate milk too. So
I liked strawberry milk growing up.
well, there you go. That works for the analogy too. So. All right, what's the next question?
When did you know what you were meant to do? You know how like when you were a kid, people were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? How did you know what you wanted to be?
So when I was like, I would say like around third grade, fourth grade, I knew I wanted to work in media right around that point. It might have been even before that, because I was always obsessed with TV. So I was actually, believe it or not, convinced that I would one day work for Nickelodeon, because I was obsessed. Like from morning till night, I was like, oh man, like Rugrats, it was all that, literally. Now come to think of it, if I actually did end up there, probably wouldn't last very long there. But that's for another time. I would probably say that I wanted to work in TV up until maybe fifth or sixth. I think it was fourth grade. And then it was in fourth grade that my aunt, shout out Aunt Neen, she bought me this like little radio kit, and it actually gave you the ability to broadcast on a very high frequency AM radio station.
Wow.
It was like at the very top, I guess, right? So no one would ever listen to it, and it only broadcasted a mile away. So it was nothing. But for the first time, I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I can be on the radio. Oh. And then I remember like, months after that, me and my cousin Maddie, we would pretend like we were DJs on like a country music station. So we'd use a spoon as a microphone and then play country CDs. And I kind of just fell in love with radio. And that to me became more of my passion over television, because I felt like radio was really sort of that unseen friend, like you could always listen to. And then now transforming into podcasting, where it's a new medium, but still really the same idea that you're connecting with someone that you may not know in person, but we can both grow in faith together and share life together. So I would say that, yeah, it's by the time I was in middle school, I was like, I thought about like, oh, it'd be cool to like be in a band because I love music, but I found myself really paying attention more to the DJs on music radio stations than the music itself. I was like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do with my life. And then just continuing to grow in love with that passion in high school, college, and beyond.
Wow, that's amazing.
I have a face for radio anyway. I don't know why you married this face, but you did. So how about you?
Well, I had always known I wanted to go into the medical field. My mom is a retired nurse. And so I just always had the desire to help people in some way. But I did know that I did not want to become a nurse, because I saw how stressed out my mom was when she would come home from work.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, how can I still be in the medical field but not be a nurse? And did not want to go to medical school either. I did not want to be a doctor. So I started learning about physical therapy, and then I learned about occupational therapy, and I was in high school, and one of my friends said that she was also looking into that field. And so we both decided to shadow an occupational therapist together at a hospital. And we both went there, and I just fell in love with the work. I loved how the occupational therapist interacted with the patients, and it just seemed like such a wonderful relationship. And she really helped people in a meaningful way. I just saw myself doing that kind of work, and I said, like, this is what I want to do. And I was a junior in high school, I believe. So ever since then, I'm like, yep, this is the path I want to go on. So the only schools I applied for in college were schools with occupational therapy programs. And I found a great program at St. Louis University, and I studied that, and I've enjoyed the work ever since.
You're really, I always say this, you're a living St. Mother Teresa with the work that you do and the way that you give patient care to people.
Thank you. Thank you.
So generously. And a lot of people think, babe, that you actually work in radio because you do this podcast. So you just sound that good.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, credit to you for really encouraging me and believing in me, because you always say that. You're like, wow, you have a good voice for radio. You are a good speaker. And I'm like, really? Like, I don't see that. Like, I've always been kind of self-conscious about my voice. And so I really appreciate you encouraging me in that.
Yeah, no, I remember that when we were dating, you would send me these they were like voice memos, but they were just little faith reflections on today's gospel, or, just something God was speaking. And I remember listening to them like, wow, like, I think that's really what planted the seed for us starting this podcast. I'm like, well, this needs to get out here. Like, you have such great wisdom here, and your voice is
I was just
amazing.
talking out loud.
Yeah, but, well, I mean, I wish we still had them, but I don't think...
I might still have them. I don't know.
Yeah, but they were really good. So it's really cool just to share this ministry together through our marriage. How about one more question, then we can maybe continue with the part 2.
So you mentioned Mother Teresa, who I love, and she's actually, I credit her to my work. She is my patron of my work. But who would you say your favorite saint is?
2 of them, because I feel like one of them is just a given. As a Catholic male, I love Saint Joseph, just the epitome of fatherhood, and spiritual fatherhood, and just the way that he is so good at carpentry. And you talk about your insecurities. That's one of my insecurities, is like I've never been that guy who's good with fixing things, and I've always not liked that about myself. But it's funny, I can call on Saint Joseph now for his intercession. And just the other week, there was I literally, it was like something in our apartment. It was like this Swiffer sweeper that we have, and it was falling apart. And like, St. Joseph, help me. And then like it ended up falling apart more. But the fact that it fell apart more helped me to figure out what was going wrong. So I was like, St. Joseph, I see you right there. You're helping me mess up so I can fix it. That's good. So
that's awesome.
So that's good. But so definitely him, but also
I call upon him too, actually.
Oh, yeah,
I have the same problems, babe. I'm terrible with things and fixing things. So I'm just like, St. Joseph, help me. And
he's the man.
He helps me. And so people think, they're like, wow, you're really good at this kind of thing. I'm like, no, it's really St. Joseph.
He's so good. I love St. Joseph. And then I would also say St. Therese of Lisieux. Her little way is very inspiring to me. And just the way that I have to smile sometimes when I read about some of her tantrums that she had as a little girl, and just the way that she was so sensitive. And she's really inspiring to me, because in those times where I'm tempted to assume the worst in someone else, to think, oh, like they had really bad intentions for that thing they said. But St. Therese teaching me, as she experienced this profound conversion on Christmas Day, where God healed her of a lot of her sensitivity and a lot of her anxieties, and helped her to just more maturely handle difficult scenarios, and to help her to see the best in other people. I'm really inspired by that example where, Jesus can also help me with those times where I want to lash out at somebody or harbor a grudge. What would St. Therese do? She would still go up to them, smile at them, and treat them as a friend. And I think that witness is just so inspirational in those times where I don't always want to be that kind of people.
Yeah, she's so inspiring. And she is a huge reason for my conversion. When I started taking my faith seriously, I read a book called 33 Days to Merciful Love. And a lot of it was about the little way and how it's so important to rely on God's grace rather than your own strength. And that was just so life-changing for me to learn that wow, like I can rely on God's grace, not my own. And she is somebody who is such a great example of that. I would say my favorite saint, he's not actually a saint yet, but he will be soon. He's a blessed Carlo Acutis.
Oh yeah.
I love him. He's just such a great influence in our modern day. He would have been like our age, right?
He's literally
like
my age, yeah.
Yeah, he was so young, and he didn't do anything extraordinary. I mean, he did do really great projects. Like there's different things that he worked on, like the Eucharistic Miracle website, but like he didn't like found an orphanage or a new order or anything like that, like you hear about some of the big saints doing. Like he was just an ordinary kid who just lived an ordinary life with extraordinary faith. And he really believed so much in the Eucharist. He was amazed that adoration chapels were not filled. He's like, do people realize that Jesus is here? Like, why are there stadiums filled with thousands of people, and then here in this adoration chapel there's only a handful of people? Like, he could not understand. And he said, when you go to adoration and pray before the Blessed Sacrament, you become holy. It's like sunbathing. Like when you're out in the sun and you just lay out and get a tan and you're not really doing anything, you're just laying there. Like that's how praying in adoration is. Your soul is being tanned by the Son, S-O-N.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. I appreciate the fact that he had a sweet tooth.
Yes.
Because I also have a very bad sweet tooth, Cathy can attest. And he learned to temper that and to say no. And I believe he was a big video gamer and would only allow himself to play video games for about like an hour or two a week. So he mastered self-control. Mm-hmm. Very legit right there. So let's do some more getting to know you questions on the next episode of the Truth Pop podcast. We'll pick up from here. But until then, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the podcast. Rate the podcast. Give us your thoughts. Also share with your friends and family. Would love to connect with you at truthpop.net. Hit the contact tab and send us a message. Would love to meet you.
And if you have any questions that you want us to answer for next episode, please reach out to us, truthpop.net.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast. Fill your faith.